DataFM. I have two tips for you today. One is a practical application of dynamic zone visibility to create a print view, and the other one is using annotations where dynamic zone visibility might fail you. So for the first tip, when you have a dashboard, there might be features that are right for when the user is interacting with the dashboard and irrelevant if they've subscribed to it or if they're physically printing it out. In this case, we have icons for a guide and downloading. We have a parameter to help select a chart type displayed below, another parameter for choosing which metric we're going to chart, a filter pane, and some visuals that are within a tooltip. Using dynamic zone visibility, you could change that parameter to print view, and now you have a clean dashboard. Doesn't have anything that the user can't interact with anymore if it's in a subscription or a printout. We've brought the sheet that was in the tooltip out below, added some things that might apply like footnotes, and also a description of what the filters were since that pane is missing now. Especially helpful if you're using drop downs or things like that anyway, where it wouldn't have all been visible to the user in the PDF. For my second tip, you can't always use dynamic zone visibility because of certain requirements. So I use annotations to display dynamic warnings, whether there's a gap in the data or if it doesn't go as far back as expected. Or in this case, I'm using it to indicate that axis has dropped below some maximum for the entire range. So this specific example is a little bit more complicated because it's for time series data. Some of the issues that come up with annotations are if the individual sets it on a mark and that mark doesn't exist, either because there were no sales in that month for a given category or the user filters out the time range, the annotation itself will disappear. So to get around this, I create several fields. One is, again in my case, it's time series data, so it's the number of months back from the latest date in the context. So this will be 0 through 47 for 4 years worth of data. I do this because I can set the annotation on the 0 mark, which will always exist, assuming there's any date selected. The other one is for whether this mark should appear or not. I set another field to determine what is the maximum value for any given month, regardless of what categories are selected. And then another field to compare against that, which is just, in my case, a window maximum of everything that's being shown. And so in this instance, I've set the threshold to 80%. So if the window maximum is more than 80% below the total maximum, I want the mark to appear. So if I change this to copiers that doesn't exceed the 80% threshold, mark goes away. Deselect copiers, mark comes back. And then to just have one mark showing, we can use a table calc filter. We only want the first mark, which is the 0, and then you can use a transparent shape or set the opacity to 0 and annotate that mark. And now you have an annotation that as the users are interacting with this, the total maximum is 18,000, so anything below 20% of that or 80% below it will cause the warning to appear. If I deselect copiers, it's 90% below the maximum. It's 91 and so on. And now you have a dynamic warning that you can use in your dashboard. This sheet just gets floated on top of your dashboard. It's a good workaround for visibility and a way of letting your users know, hey, there's something going on with this. I hope you enjoyed the tips.